Hey everyone. So if you're in the world of Drupal, you know this constant struggle, right? How do you host and manage your projects without the operational side just completely draining all your time and money? Well, today we're going to dig into two very different ways to run Drupal on DigitalOcean. We've got the classic do-it-yourself path, and then there's the modern automated route. Let's figure out which one actually makes sense for you. All right, here's the game plan. We're going to start by really nailing down the core challenge of managing Drupal. Then, we'll take a walk down that DIY path, see all the twists and turns. After that, we'll check out the automated alternative, put them head to head, and I'll even give you a little matrix to help you decide. And we'll wrap up by looking at the real cost of this choice. And trust me, it's about a lot more than just your monthly bill. Okay, so let's get right to the heart of the problem. The real headache with managing Drupal isn't just, getting it online. It's this constant, kind of hidden operational stuff that's always running in the background, just silently eating away at your team's time and your budget. And get this is the number that should really make you sit up and pay attention. We're talking 30 to 60 hours a week. That's the typical DevOps effort for teams who are manually managing their Drupal infrastructure on a platform like DigitalOcean. I mean, think about that. That's a full-time job, sometimes even more, just dedicated to keeping the lights on. Yeah, that number's pretty shocking, right? So what in the world is going on in those 30 to 60 hours? Well, it's what some people call the DevOps tax. It's this nonstop drain, patching servers, trying to scale things, monitoring, troubleshooting. Let's really break down what that means day to day. So that brings us to our first path, and it's probably the one you're most familiar with, the classic do-it-yourself route. This is all about using the powerful, raw infrastructure as a service tools you get from DigitalOcean. And hey, it's where most of us start. When you go DIY on DigitalOcean, you're basically climbing a ladder of complexity. You might start simple with just a single droplet. You've got total control, which feels great at first. But as you grow, you might need a multi-server setup, and suddenly you need some serious advanced skills. Or maybe you try a marketplace one-click app for a quick start, but man, the maintenance always catches up with you. And at the very top, for ultimate scale, you've got Kubernetes, which, let's be honest, requires expert-level chops. Every single step up this ladder just adds to that operational weight. So here's the kicker. Even if you're using some managed services, like a managed database, that 30 to 60-hour tax, it doesn't go away. Why? Because your team is still on the hook for all this stuff. You're manually deploying code, you're patching the OS and PHP to stay secure, you're fighting to make sure the dev environment actually matches production, you're the one getting alerts at 2 a.m., and, this is a big one, you're the one who has to test the backups to make sure they'll actually, work when disaster strikes. Okay, enough of the tough stuff. Let's switch gears and look at the alternative, path number 2. Now, this isn't about ditching DigitalOcean. Not at all. It's about adding a smart layer right on top of it. This is the automated route, and it's powered by an orchestration platform called DevPanel. So what exactly is DevPanel? The best way to think about it is like a remote control for your DigitalOcean infrastructure. It's an automation platform that sets up and manages everything for you. But, and this is key, it does it all inside your own cloud account. What you get is a complete automated development lifecycle without that vendor lock-in that everybody's afraid of. You still own all the infrastructure. DevPanel is just running the playbook for you. And when you look at where the value comes from, it's really interesting. Yeah, a huge chunk is just automating that whole software development lifecycle. But look at the other pieces. The zero lock-in model is a big deal. So are the cloud-based IDEs that make developers so much more efficient. And then you've got real cost savings from things like auto-pausing idle sites and the sheer speed you get from using site templates. It's not just one thing, it's the whole package. And here it is. This is the payoff. Remember that crazy 30 to 60 hours we started with? By automating all of those repetitive, soul-crushing manual tasks, the operational burden just shrinks. We're talking down to just 2 to 5 hours a week. That's not a small improvement. It's a total game changer in how your team spends its time. Okay, so we've seen the two paths in theory. Now let's get practical. Let's put them side by side and see exactly how automation changes the day-to-day reality for developers, no matter how big their team is. All right, let's start with a solo developer. On the DIY path, you're spending hours on manual setup. This leads to what we call snowflake servers. Every single one is unique, fragile, and impossible to replicate perfectly. And scaling up, it's a painful, manual, and super error-prone process. Now, on the automated path, you spin up a cloud IDE in minutes. Every single environment is identical and repeatable by design. Scaling, it's handled for you automatically. That whole it works on my machine problem, It just disappears.
Okay, but what about those marketplace one-click apps? They seem like the perfect shortcut, right? And honestly, for the first half hour, they're great. But right after that, you're back in the weeds, manually setting up your backups, your SSL certificates, a proper deployment pipeline. The automated approach, on the other hand, includes all of that right from the get-go. The setup isn't just installing the app, it's building the entire operational framework around the app.
Now, this one really gets to the core philosophical difference. When you talk Kubernetes, you can go direct with DigitalOcean's Kubernetes service, DOKS, but that means you are wrestling with all of its raw complexity. You're writing YAML files, configuring ingress, the whole 9 yards. It's incredibly powerful, sure, but it's often total overkill for a monolithic app like Drupal. DevPanel uses Kubernetes under the hood too, but it hides all that crazy complexity behind a simple, Drupal-friendly interface, so you get all the power without any of the pain.
So, with all of that on the table, how in the world do you choose? Which path is actually the right one for your team in your situation? Let's make this really concrete with a little recommendation matrix and see if we can find the right fit for you. Okay, take a look and see where your team fits. If you're flying solo, a simple marketplace app from DigitalOcean is a fantastic place to start. Low cost, manageable overhead. For a small team of, say, 2 to 5 people, maybe you add a managed database to that. It's a good balance. But once you hit about 6 developers, or especially if you're an agency juggling a bunch of different sites, the whole equation just flips. The automation you get from a platform like DevPanel becomes a massive strategic advantage. It can literally eliminate the need to hire a dedicated DevOps engineer and makes managing tons of sites actually, well, manageable. All right, we're almost home, but there is one last and honestly one of the most important pieces of this puzzle. This decision isn't just about cool features, it's about money. But to really get it, we have to look beyond that obvious monthly infrastructure bill and talk about the real cost of your choice. And really, it all boils down to this one simple difference. Who has the operational responsibility? With the DIY DigitalOcean path, you are the orchestrator. It's on you to make all the separate pieces, the droplets, the databases, the load balancers, all play nicely together. With the automated path, the platform becomes the orchestrator for you, running everything inside your account. This chart right here makes the financial side of things crystal clear. In a DIY setup, that DigitalOcean bill you pay, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The vast majority of your actual cost is hidden in the salaries of the people doing all that manual DevOps work we talked about. With an automated platform, your total cost is way more transparent, and critically, it's much lower overall. Why? Because you've traded that massive head and labor cost for a much smaller, predictable platform fee. Let's put some real-world numbers on that. When you actually factor in the prorated salary of a DevOps engineer, the true total cost of ownership for just one site on a DIY path can easily be $6,000, $10,000, even $15,000 or more per year. Now, compare that to the automated platform. The total cost is dramatically lower. Yeah, the raw infrastructure cost is pretty similar, but you've completely removed that gigantic hidden labor cost from the equation. A platform subscription fee is just a tiny fraction of what you'd pay a DevOps engineer. So as we wrap this up, it really all comes down to 3 key questions you need to ask yourself and your team. First, what's your team size and what's your current in-house DevOps skill level? Second, how many Drupal sites are you actually juggling? And third, and this is a big one, what's your tolerance for operational risk and the potential downtime that just comes with doing everything by hand? And really, that all leads to the final, and maybe the most important question of all. Where do you want your team to spend its time? I mean, your team is your most valuable resource, right? So should their time and talent be focused on building the features that actually make your users happy and grow your business, or should they be spending it managing infrastructure? The answer to that question, well, it'll tell you everything you need to know.